Well, in the midst of that forum, one major thing that has faced the country at the moment is the security challenge that we face. We did have a letter from the former president, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, to President Muhammadu Buhari on that. Let's quickly go to Abuja now with Mark to hear.
Well, thank you, Gimba. We have with us in the studio this morning Charles Folayan, who is the Secretary, Youth Mobilization Committee, APC Presidential Campaign Council in Kwara State. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thanks. Good morning. Great.
Good morning. That letter came out like a bolt from the blues yesterday, you know, on the heels of what we saw over the weekend. Sadly, the death of Mrs. Olufunke Olakunrin, who happened to be Fashoranti's daughter. We saw leaders, political leaders, paying visits to the father to condole with him, and also saying that, you know, Nigerians shouldn't overheat the polity as a result of that, because there are now very serious concerns about the security situation in the country when you consider the circumstances in which she passed on. Now, looking at this letter, we saw the letter come out yesterday. There have been different reactions to it, but just for the sake of our viewers, we could take some parts of it so that they can put it in context. The former president, I should say, put the reason why he's writing the letter, what the issues are, and he also proffered his own solutions, you know, which one would say could be an advice. We'll ask you your views on it, but let me quickly read this. He says, the issue I'm addressing here is very serious. It is the issue of life and death for all of us and our dear country, Nigeria. The issue can no longer be ignored, treated with nonchalance, swept under the carpet, or treated with cuddling glove. The issue is hitting at the foundation of our existence as Nigerians and fast eroding the root of our Nigerian community. I am very worried and afraid that we are on the precipice and dangerously reaching a tipping point where it may no longer be possible to hold danger at bay. Do you agree with him?
Well, we cannot talk about the content of that letter without talking about, you know, the character of the writer. First, you know, a lot of Nigerians see President Obasanjo in a different dimension, and that affects the letter as well. A lot of people see Obasanjo as, you know, a elder statesman. A lot of people see him as a mischief maker. A lot of people see him as an opposition of the President Buhari government. A lot of people see him as even the mouthpiece of the opposition at times. So it affects that letter, and I'm not in the position, actually, to cast aspersion on the personality of President Obasanjo, but looking at what his contemporaries are saying, I've read this morning, of course, what the former special advisor to Shehu Shagari said, in person of Tanko Yakasai, Alhaji Tanko Yakasai, said a lot of things. And in his word, if you pick it up, he is a contemporary of President Obasanjo. They've been together for a long time. He said he has not seen that letter as being a patriotic thing. He has seen it as unpatriotic, as an ill-conceived, and of course an attempt to call for national disaster. And when you look at this, you now go into the content of the letter. You see, President Obasanjo has a right, of course, to advise the president, President Muhammadu Buhari, who believed in him as a general, a senior in the army. He always called him, you know, my boss. But why doing that? One will wonder, the president that has unflinching access to President, you know, Buhari, who can enter the villa whenever he wants. He attends Security Council meeting. Of course, he was even invited to the inauguration of the president. He wasn't there. But basically, when you look at that, you wonder why he has to go through an open letter. And that is where the issue of the public perception comes in. What is it trying to paint? And there are a lot of issues raised in that letter, at which I think we'll get to some of them. But if you look at those ones you've just read, since that this issue have been taken with, you know, with kid glove, it's not true. The president has done a lot of things. And the issue of security in Nigeria is a monumental issue. And it's the issue of history. We have to go back to the memory lane, even when the President Obasanjo was the president, and come down to these periods of time. What has been happening to our military? What is the situation of their equipment? What is the situation of their training? What has been happening to the police? Have we done enough? The answer is no. So it will take President Buhari to fix all this problem of long time within just a period of 4 years. Yes, the president is trying. I think in the history of Nigeria, we're having, you know, president approving $1 billion, you know, for the security equipment budgets. And that, you can be rest assured that it's not going to be like the usual, you know, budget that is usually shared by some few members of the cabal of the government. This has to be done. So in the issue of insecurity, raising those letters, I think as a person that President Obasanjo has a more better role to play than writing the open letter to the president.
First and foremost, you don't seem to be dwelling. I mean, you have touched briefly, very briefly, on the issues in the letter, but largely you have touched on the person of President Obasanjo. And some people will say that perhaps for the sake of this letter, you have questioned why it is that he has chosen to, criticize or to advise in this manner when he has unflinching access to the president. But the president, I think President Obasanjo saw that coming, and I think he said that in the beginning part of this letter. He says, since the issue, he first of all says, I am constrained to write to you this open letter. He says, I decided to make it open because the issue is very weighty and must be greatly worrisome to all concerned Nigerians. And that means all right-thinking Nigerians and those resident in Nigeria. Since the issue is of momentous concern to all well-meaning and all right-thinking Nigerians, it must be of great concern to you. He now says the content of this letter, therefore, should be available to all those who can help in proffering effective solutions for the problem of insecurity in the land. Isn't that sufficient ground, sufficient justification for making it open?
No, I don't think so. And like I used to say, the president, even offered advice for a conference in the letter to invite a certain number of the people. Those who are reading this letter, are they those people he said they should invite? The answer is no. And when I'm saying he shouldn't make it public... How
do you mean, those who are reading?
He mentioned particular people, former head of state, former commissioner of police, and all of them. Those who making letter public does not mean that he's talking to these people. Mind you, he's also talking to Nigerians who also have right to digest what he wrote in the letter. In some part of the letter is actually an incitement saying that some people can also take arm against the Fulani nation. I hope you read that part. And when he said
aren't you reading, sorry to interrupt you, but aren't you reading that out of context? As I know the part you're talking about.
Exactly.
He says to be explicit and without equivocation. Mr. President and General, I am deeply worried about 4 avoidable calamities. He said abandoning Nigerians into the hands of criminals who are being suspected, rightly or wrongly, as Fulanis and terrorists of Boko Haram type, spontaneous or planned reprisal attacks against Fulanis, which may inadvertently or advertently mushroom into pogrom or Rwanda-type genocide that we did not believe could happen, and yet it happened. 3, similar attacks against any tribe or ethnic group anywhere in the country. What I'm trying to say here is that he's painting scenarios that could happen if nothing is done about our security situation. Isn't that what he's basically saying?
I'm also concerned about painting scenario of what could happen to the public. When you hear as if, the letter is speaking as if the issue of crimes and criminality we're having in Nigeria is about Fulani. Those parts he made, if Fulanis are attacking other tribe and all that, you see, we're having issues. And I think this will start from here. Elders like President Obasanjo, like I said, should be able to come up with issue, knowing that people are reading this and people can take this out of context.
But the thing is this. Some people will say that a lot of Nigerians already think this. What is different is that President Obasanjo has given voice to their fears, and he's put it down in a letter to the president.
And I think even a lot of Nigerians are thinking of this. It is also in the place of somebody like Obasanjo to come out, to reorientate people, to make people not have this kind of belief that is capable of causing more issues than confirming their own thinking. When somebody is thinking this is happening, people like Obasanjo coming up is to think, a lot of people will think that he has done a lot of research to come up with a letter. But a lot of people are also shocked because for people that think that President Obasanjo is a confused person, like I said, some people that think that, we feel that...
Are you one of those people?
Well, I have right to reserve my thought about President Obasanjo. I'm just saying for some people who think that. We think that President Obasanjo, who has come out like this, for me, if I must say, for me, I don't take that letter serious, and for one reason. I've seen scenarios that President Obasanjo came to even write a book about his former vice president, condemned him, and came back to say we should vote for him as president.
Okay, so let us, ask you to hold your thoughts there. But we're being joined right now by Oladimeji Fabiyi, who is a member of the People's Democratic Party. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. And good to see you too.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning.
Well, you have seen this letter. You have seen the different reactions that are beginning to come out to this letter. What is your immediate take on the content of the letter?
Well, thank you very much. First, I'd like to express my heartfelt condolences to the family of Pa Fashoranti, who just lost his daughter due to the insecurity challenges we're having in this country at this moment. Whether it is by herdsmen, bandits, armed robbers, is an insignia that we're having serious security challenges in this country. And I haven't said that. And in addition to that, lots of families have equally lost their family members. There are thousands of them. Every day when you wake up is the news of killings here and there. And my condolences go to those families. If it has happened to you personally, you would have known the toll this has taken on those families. And we pray that God help us to curtail all this. Having said that, I think Nigerians all over, and you can see, should commend former President Olusegun Obasanjo for representing and expressing the views of millions and millions of Nigerians, home and abroad. I think the government of President Muhammadu Buhari should be appreciative that we still have someone like President Obasanjo who can look at you in the face and tell you the obvious truth. Obasanjo has spoken the minds of Nigerians, and he has said it in such a way that is different from what he used to be when he writes any president. We were alive when he wrote former President Jonathan. There were political intonation. The previous letters he wrote to President Muhammadu Buhari, we has had some level of political intonation. But when you look at this letter from the first paragraph to the last paragraph, one is devoid of criticisms. It was it is purely based on facts and advice to the government of the day. So if anyone now feels that Obasanjo has done something that is unwelcoming or that is wrong, I think those people should have a rethink.
You've raised two issues. You
Yes.
say, one, it is devoid of criticism, but you also talked about the fact that he has written previous letters. Now, some people will say that we cannot divorce. I mean, the guest here just said we cannot divorce the fact that he's written previous letter. We cannot divorce the fact that he has asked President Buhari not to run again for this particular term, and he's also, criticized him openly before now. And some people will also say that this letter is not totally devoid of criticism. So, for instance, he talks about Boko Haram. He says, say what you will, Boko Haram is still a daily issue of insecurity for those who are victimized, killed, maimed, kidnapped, raped, sold into slavery and forced into marriage, for children forcibly recruited into carrying bombs and then to detonate among crowds of people to cause maximum destruction. He says, he also talked about for over 10 years, for 4 of which you have been the captain of the ship, Boko Haram has menacingly ravaged the land in spite of government's claim of victory over Boko Haram. He says that. He also says, herdsmen farmers crisis and menace started with the government treating the issue with cuddling glove instead of hammer. Isn't that a criticism?
Well, quite sincerely, where is the criticism here? I don't see that as criticism. It's just stating the obvious truth. Now, let me take you back. This government will come out today and tell you we have tactically defeated Boko Haram. We have extremely defeated Boko Haram. And every day, Boko Harams are still killing Nigerians. A lot of them, they are factions. A lot of them has now turned into, as metamorphosized into bandits that are unleashing this terror on good citizens of Nigeria. So if anybody tells me Obasanjo, that statement, all those paragraphs you have read, does not suggest any criticism, but stating the obvious truth, obvious fact. Now, I'm disturbed, when I see some Nigerians being killed abroad, and people are talking. Doesn't it make any sense to anybody? Even at home, we cannot even still kill our people. So when they kill our people abroad, what do we get out of it? In South Africa, they're killing thousands of Nigerians simply because it's a reflection of what is happening at home, where we have a government who cannot provide adequate security for the citizens. Every day, what you wake up to see on the TV, you hear on the radio, is killings. Just a few days ago, in Katsina, 10 people were killed in a particular district. So what has Obasanjo done that is not correct here? Obasanjo has only expressed the views the minds of Nigerians home and abroad, even outside government of other nations outside Nigeria. The United States presidency, the Congresses, the House of Lords in the UK, everybody is concerned about the level of insecurity in Nigeria. And when somebody will now sit and tell me Obasanjo is doing something wrong, I think he should be commended and not condemned.
Yeah, well, you have campaigned for a president before. Now, assuming you know, a candidate had won, would you appreciate, do you think that an open letter like this about an issue of security is something that he would have appreciated?
But do you know the first thing that is wrong about this government? Number one, they hate criticisms. Number two, they don't want you to advise. Even if you give them advice, they will not take it. Obasanjo knows what he has done. Remember that Obasanjo has been there twice, just like the president is there now. So there's nothing you want to say that he does not know. And Obasanjo is open to so many information that are not open to you and I on the street. So if he does that, whether it is in secrecy or is in the open, the truth of the matter is that the message has been sent, and this government should accept it and work on it before it blows out of proportion. This is what we are saying. We are dying every day, for heaven's sakes. Because it has not affected the immediate family does not mean that people are not feeling this pain. This is exactly what I'm trying to say. When you have a government who does not listen to advice, who hates criticism, the greatest hate speeches comes from this government. If not, you won't see somebody like Onoche, or what's her name, fabricating lies against some individuals in this country. For example, Atiku Abubakar, you don't do this kind of thing. And when anybody talks, they say you are wrong. Security agencies will invite you. This is not how to run a government. What Obasanjo is simply saying is that, please, treat this country, the national unity and national cohesion of this country is very, very critical. It's very, very important. And everything stops on your table. You have to be honest with the people that voted you in. You have to do the right thing. You have the duty to ensure that Nigerians' cries, Nigerians' problems are addressed. Very well. So this is what Obasanjo is just saying. Obasanjo does not abuse, he does not insult, he does not criticize this government. He was only saying, he was only expressing the mindset of millions of Nigerians because of where we are now. So and I think this government has a duty to live up to their responsibility and ensure that this issue of insecurity, because it's staring us in the face now. I stand with Obasanjo on this, because if care is not taken, a lot of things are on the way. That I cannot even say, that I cannot even imagine. Now you cannot even travel peacefully from Abuja to Kaduna. You cannot even travel from the North Central to Southwest. You are so scared. Now this thing has ripple effect and economic impact on some of these states. Now I have a friend who had business to do in one of these states, but because of this insecurity, cannot go. If he had gone, only God knows how much revenue that state would have gotten. This are the ripple effect this thing is causing Nigeria. So we have to. I think this government has all the opportunities in the world to do what is just and what is right. Mr. President, I expect him to have A1 in security management. He may not have A1 in economy. He may not have A1 in any other sector of the economy, but security is expected to have A1. And we're disappointed that the reverse is the story.
Well, Charles, you have heard him there.
Yeah.
And some people will say that you cannot take away, as the president did say, this is a matter of life and death.
Yeah.
Should it really matter who is bringing this issue to the fore? Isn't what is important the lives of Nigerians and the integrity of Nigeria as a nation?
Yeah, I think, let me quickly react to what he said. He has talked like an opposition member who has come to talk about, run down the government. Basic, I want to say, is we are all here. He was also there when he said the government is not doing anything about security, and I laugh. That's laughable because you have driven from wherever you are coming from here to this place, and you are going by, living under your roof. I don't think he knows that the government is playing a role in protecting life and properties in that aspect. In the same Abuja where we are right now, there's been some cases where bomb blasts were happening in Nyanya, in the UN house and all of that. And that is the history at the moment. We have the time when terrorists will come out on video to tell Nigerians that we're going to attack this place tomorrow, we're going to do this, and it will happen. And that is history right now. And people are not seeing progress in that. That's why we wonder. But it's not the basic about it. Those who are outside the government, they are like football spectators. They know how to play the football more than those who are in the field. But of course, thank God for what he's supporting. He just mentioned Atiku Abubakar and the rest of them bringing politics into it. I don't really want to go into that. But while you are talking about that, we have to be concerned as Nigerians. The issue of security is a monumental thing. It's an history in this country. Buhari government didn't bring Boko Haram. He met it and has been managed to a large extent. Of course, if government has come and said it has been defeated, the government has information that he agreed that the government had information of the level of the strength of Boko Haram before now and what it is right now.
Yeah, but when we talk about defeat, people expect that perhaps what government means is that it is over. I mean, we will not be getting deaths as a result of Boko Haram.
Okay, basically, that is what people think about defeat. But my own self, technically, when you look at, when you say you have defeated, you know, an insurgent, it means that you have restricted them. It means that they are no longer having the power to go on airstrike, to plant bomb and kill people, to do, you know, suicide bombing, which those things has been reduced. In the Northeast, that is still happening, you know, skeletally. These are places where some of these guys has infiltrated the system. It is difficult. And what people tend to forget, a terrorist can attack easier than a security agent. Terrorists don't care about how many lives is lost. They don't care about, you know, genocide. They don't care about that. For security agent, you can't go to a place and bomb people and kill terrorists where people are living. So this issue are technical. This issue are serious issue. You see, the president of Nigeria, like every other president of the world, will not be happy to hear of any crisis or any security situation. But coming to make it, you know, a political party thing is a difficult thing, or, you know, try to give it an ethnic or religious coloration.
So
is the problem.
Can I ask you then, yes. I mean, are you saying then that we should dismiss this entire letter? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't say that. Like I said earlier, and which I quickly repeat, a lot of people are taking that letter in different way. Read a letter from a confused man, a letter from a mischief maker.
Letter? You have said all you want to.
Yes, President actually made some advice. You know, out of everything, you can pick sense in one or two places. It's normal. Some of this letter, he has suggested some things, that there should be meeting, which I think the president is considering. Possibly the president will come up with his position on that. If he's going to do that or not, I'm not in the best position to speak for the president in that aspect. In the other ways, he mentioned about the Fulani and raising alarm of people attacking again. And I think we should dispel that totally. For the issue of the, you know, to sympathize with the family of Mrs. Funke who just died. But the basic about it is that when you look at the incident, there's one Mr. Joseph who was an eyewitness in that incident. Said that these people that came, they cannot assume whether they are Fulani S-men or they are this. Some of them are even masked. But you heard from Mr. Yinka Odumaki, who was from Lagos, who speaks that these people are Fulani S-men. And you begin to wonder, maybe Mr. Yinka has more to say about this because he knows, or you know, how this thing happened. Possibly he was there or he was called before then. So when you look at this issue, the advice of Obasanjo should not be thrown away, of course. I am not saying his advice should be thrown away. But whenever he raises issue of letters, there are some things that he raised in those letters that are false. And the issue of thinking that Fulani S-men are doing this and is coming on attack of these people are only inciting the public and should be taken serious.
Some people will say that, you know, what the scenarios that he's painted are probable, but also quite dangerous in the sense that they could become self-fulfilling prophecies. Sometimes people or experts withhold saying certain things because they do not want these things to happen as a result of what they say. Do you think it was wise for him to have put that in this letter?
It is even more than wise to have done that. I just told you earlier on that we have a government who is so arrogant that they don't even believe you know anything. That is the kind of government we have. So many people. It's just not Obasanjo. Leaders, other stakeholders from other parts of the country had already voiced out. Is it because it was Obasanjo that wrote this? Some northern elders have spoken about the situation, the desperation in this country. The southern leaders, the Pandef, all of them, all these ethnic nationalities, everybody has spoken because they see the need for a national unity and national cohesion. And the person they can actually address this to is the president. And that's what Obasanjo has done. I don't want us to crucify Obasanjo. The government of Buhari can take it the way they want to. They can take it any way they want to take it. But it doesn't change the fact that Obasanjo has said the truth and has addressed the fundamental problems that are affecting us, that's affecting that, and that are capable of destroying the very foundation and fabrics of this country. I am telling you sincerely. So for me, when you tell us, now I want to ask a question, because my brother just talked about Boko Haram being defeated. I want to ask one fundamental question. The number of Chibok girls that were rescued. How were they rescued? Because Obasanjo talked about something there. When you look at the entire content of the letter, there's something that is central, which is dialogue, which is to seek help from people who can help you. Our diversity that is meant to be our strength is gradually becoming an albatross for us in this country. And this is what Obasanjo is saying. And some people are sitting there and criticizing this.
Gentlemen.
We need to move forward in this country. A lot is happening, Maokwe, and there is danger. Our government should do whatever they can do to rescue this situation.
We are totally out of time, gentlemen. We have to thank both of you for coming on Sunrise Daily. Oladimeji Fabiyi is a member of the People's Democratic Party. Charles Folayan is Secretary Youth Mobilization Committee of the APC Presidential Campaign Council in Kwara State. Well, that's it for this segment. Sunrise Daily continues with another segment in just a moment. Please stay with us.